Admiral.
Engage.
Welcome to Deep Space Pride, everyone. My name is Mike, and this is episode number 1 of our podcast. And I say our podcast because it is not just me. I have a co-host. His name is Johnson. And Johnson, how are you doing today?
Good, Mike. How are you doing?
I am great. And this is episode 1. This is going live. This is real.
It's real. It's happening.
This is happening. So
you're going to hear this.
People are going to hear this, and it's super exciting because we've been on this journey for a while, and it's finally getting out to the world. So this is what you're about to hear. So right now we're talking to you from July 2020, actually the end of July 26, 2020. And what you are going to hear is our recording, our very first recording as podcasters for the season finale of Picard. That's when our journey went from incessantly texting back and forth about an episode to sitting down on Zoom and recording the audio for public consumption, and
that was, as you said, almost 4 months ago, right? Actually, is it exactly 4 months ago?
It is pretty close to 4 months ago. It's with a couple of months in there, 31 days. I think that it would be 120 days almost ago that we recorded this. So just a little, primer. So this was 2 weeks into our quarantine here in New York. This was without the podcasting mics that we are using now, which the sound still sounds really good. So I'm happy that we don't have to re-record this or figure out another plan for this audio. So
I would have no desire to do that.
Yeah. But you know what is kind of appropriate is what I did for Star Trek this week. Because, I think, and I've heard this in other podcasts that I listen to, is that Star Trek is a great escape for, if you are just tired of the world and just need to get away. And this past week, I was having a bad day, and I texted Johnson and I was like, it's not a great day today. And I was like, but I think I'm going to put some Star Trek on. And you asked me what I was going to watch, and I decided I was going to go. I wanted something familiar. I wanted something familiar, friendly, warm. And immediately I thought of Nepenthe. Honestly, like if I could have been Picard in that episode where Deanna just gives him a hug, that would have been brilliant. And that's the type of day I had. So I started watching Nepenthe.
It's definitely my personal favorite episode of Picard season 1.
Yeah. And I think it's definitely a favorite of mine as well. For sure, because I immediately went right to it.
Yeah.
When I was having a tough day. And so I watched that, and then I just kind of continued the journey back through Picard. So I watched episodes 8, 9, and 10 all the way to the finale again this week. So it's kind of apropos that we're recording this intro in July, but we're going back in time to when Johnson and I were 4 months younger. And we were
old.
Well, I
feel I've aged the past 4 months. Let's be real.
I think everyone has aged the past 4 months.
Sure.
With this quarantine in various stages. Obviously, back then we were in complete lockdown. Everything was closed down except for essential services. So this is our first foray into discussing on camera, on audio, on mic. Episode 10, the season finale of Star Trek Picard. So yeah, so enjoy. We hope you'll enjoy our discussion of Picard episode 10, the season finale. I'm not going to try to name it again. And in fact, having listened to this, I couldn't even name it when we recorded this 4 months ago.
We didn't pronounce it very well.
No. So, but we'll let we did talk about the title a little bit, so I'm going to let that ride and enjoy our conversation 4 months ago about the season finale of Star Trek Picard. So, episode 10. What was the name of? I can never remember how to say it.
You can never remember? I don't remember even like how to spell
Arcadia is part of it. Something at ego in Arcadia or something like that.
Et in Arcadio Ego.
Oh, okay.
Part two.
So, do you know what that means? The title?
Did you look it up? It's like a painting or something. It's about death.
Yeah, it's about death. It's like even in Utopia, there is death, or death is there, something like that. Yeah.
Yes, I'm feeling that right now during our coronavirus crisis.
Yeah, right.
It's like, yeah, you can't escape death.
You can't escape death. Although I don't know that this would be considered utopia right now.
No. But,
although nature might think this is utopia.
Oh yeah.
This is almost like a natural world reset.
I know. It's actually that's a silver lining as well going through right now.
Yeah. So all right. So episode 10. What did you think?
So, there were some emotional beats in there that I was like, okay, this is working for me. Like it like jump-started my heart a little bit in a few moments. But overall, I thought that I approached it more stoically than I would have preferred. In that, for example, Picard dying. It's like, we know that he's coming back for season 2 and the show is still called Picard. So
you got pulled out of the episode.
Yeah, Patrick Stewart's not going to go anywhere. So there were like some big emotional beats that I feel that the showrunners were trying to evoke in the audience that it didn't do it for me. I do think that some of the key moments where I think Picard was being really Picardy and very idyllic in the way that Picard is and the way that he is a teacher and he has all his wisdom. I think that there were a few moments like that I think really resonated. The scene with Data at the end, like where they were in the quantum simulation, that didn't hit me as emotionally as I thought it would. I was hoping it would. I do think that it tied up the season well, where Data basically freed Picard from this guilt that's been haunting him for, since Nemesis or whatever. So I do think that there was an element there that kind of wrapped up the season and allowed, the whole story arc of what the season has been exploring in terms of Picard's mindset and giving him a way forward. But then I feel that there were these emotional loopholes, like for example, his death, Riker showing up and then Riker being like, bye Felicia, I'll see you later. And then Picard dies like 5 minutes later. It's like, okay, and then we're supposed to expect Picard and these people around him as he's dying to really hit us, but I barely know these people that well. There's a few things like that I feel like were not really hitting the mark for me. And then I have like other notes. But yes, I would say in a nutshell, some things worked, some things didn't work as well. I think there are things that were in the episode that speak to some problems I had with the season as a whole, but also kind of evoke the right sense of nostalgia for me. Overall, I thought it was good, not great, which is how I would also probably define the season. So
okay, all right.
What did you think? What were your
What did
thoughts?
I think? I would agree. I thought it was good. I thought there were moments that were really great, and
Mhm.
then I don't know that I think I feel like it's always a really strong season. So, but
Mhm.
going back to like it was good. I felt like it was really slow in the beginning for a season finale,
Right.
and so the action obviously didn't take place until the second half of the episode.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
but I've watched it twice. So I watched it
Okay.
on Thursday, and then I watched it again yesterday because
Okay.
I thought we were going to talk yesterday night or whatever, and
Mhm.
so I wanted it fresh in my mind. So it was good because um, I actually enjoyed it even more the second time.
Okay. Maybe I should watch
Uh,
it again.
yeah,
Maybe I
yeah,
should
I
watch it
think
a
you
second
should.
time.
Yeah, I think
Mhm.
because there's a lot of things that you might have missed or that I felt like I missed or that I like paid more attention to, having known the whole arc of everything now. I paid a
Mhm.
little bit more attention to the music, which I love. I love the music of Picard more so than I like, and Jeff Russo is a great composer, but I like it more than I like
And
Discovery.
Discovery.
Yeah,
Wow, interesting. I
I
actually
really
like Discovery's track
do
more.
you?
Anyway.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yes.
Um, and it took me a while, but anyway, so as far as Picard's death goes, since you started there, I'll start there. Um, and then I want to go back to Girardi because I've never really yeah, anyway. I didn't really like the character,
Uh-huh.
but she redeemed herself in this episode. Although I still don't trust her. But Picard's death, it like built up for me. And like I felt like when he was talking to Riker and he was
Mhm.
like, see around the galaxy, I thought that was really poignant. And you could kind of like you as a viewer kind of knew that he was kind of saying goodbye to his friend, but his friend
Mhm.
didn't know it.
Mhm.
But also I think that that was the whole point. Like they needed Starfleet there to ward off the Romulans,
Mhm.
but it was really about Ambassador Picard, I guess, kind
Mhm.
of merging this. And the other thing too that I really loved about this, and I think that this is the meaning of the whole episode, is that, and this is what I thought about this morning, was the team tried to blow up the transmitter, which would which would mean that the organics were kind of controlling the fate of the synthetics.
Mhm.
And I think it was really great. And I mean, it's obviously story and it's written really well. Um, that didn't work,
Mhm.
and that the synthetics had to choose to shut it down themselves.
Right.
And I thought that was a huge, like Star Trek's filled with lessons. I think that that was the lesson of this episode, is that we've got to let people
Mhm.
make their own decisions for their lives, whoever they
Yes.
are.
So that was, I agree with you. I think the one scene that actually really touched me was when Picard um, was pleading with Soji, right? And then he had to do it a couple times, but then he was like, we're here to save each other. I thought that was
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah,
And ultimately that kind of helped her to change her mind. So I agree with you. I think that
right.
that was emotionally impactful. It spoke to him. It kind of wrapped up like him kind of realizing that he just through the season that he had a mission and that his mission is always to, he's always trying to save other people. But then in that statement, he was also articulating that he also recognized that he needs to be saved through this mission,
Mhm.
and this like circular way in which, he by saving others is also saving himself. Like I thought that that was very beautiful.
Yeah,
So yes, I agree with you. I thought that that was the fact that they had to let like Soji had to be the one to kind of shut it down and choose to shut it down,
yeah,
was ultimately the right call, like from a narrative standpoint.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then obviously the death scene happened right after that, and so I felt like sad. And again, I knew the things that you were talking about, like he's coming back for a second season. I
Right.
never really thought of until maybe that moment or that few moments about the golem, because really the golem was supposed to be for Sung, not for anybody else.
Oh,
and
come on. You didn't think that they were
I
setting
did
it
not.
up?
I did
Come
not even
on.
think of that.
It's
Not
like, oh
until
my God, he's dying. Oh, look, there's this thing that can transfer consciousness. It's like, oh, Professor Xavier's transfer. Oh, no, I mean, Picard transferring consciousness to, like, her body. Like.
No, I did not. I was not thinking about that at all. I didn't think about that at all until like the actual like, because you didn't know like he could have died up there before like I didn't know it was gonna go on, so I didn't even think of that as a possibility. And then I think it was great that he died in Rafi's arms. I think that the two of them felt guilt over each other and guilt over so many different things that I thought that was actually a really emotional point, was when he said, "Rafi, you were right." And it's kind of like that, those moments that you hear about, and I don't know that I've ever had one personally, but where the person like you're with someone who's dying and they're sharing this message with you and they don't quite finish what they're saying, and you're kind of left to kind of fill in the blanks yourself. And so I thought that was really emotional. But then then the next scene is like the mountain scene with the sunset, and I thought that was like a really cool cinematic transition. And then not 7 of 9 and Rios chatting about their regrets, and then and I thought that was like the tough guys like having their little powwow about it, and both admitting their own faults, but also the next scene when Rafi's just sitting there and then Elnor comes and breaks down, and I'm actually getting emotional thinking about it right now. Like when Elnor breaks down, that's when I lost it. I was like, because this is a kid who, that's his father in all senses of the word. His father just died. He's 18, he's maybe 18 years old or whatever. So that's when I like, and Rafi's comforting him and they're both crying together. I lost it right then. Because they were both, I think, the people who were the closest to him and obviously knew him the longest, right? Out of all the crew, out of all his crew, those are the two that knew him.
Right.
So I thought that was really when I was pointing. And then comes Data, and I thought it was a perfect bookend to the series. But it was also that, and again, like thinking philosophically, it was also that lesson, that lesson about saying goodbye to people, and a lot like having that, like this was a conversation that they couldn't have in Nemesis, which I had watched Nemesis. I don't know, after episode 3 maybe or whatever. I found out like it wasn't on Prime or Hulu
again, but
I watched it after, I think it was after episode 3. So because it's on CBS All Access, couldn't find it anywhere else, and I was like, oh, I'll just check, because CBS, the merger hadn't really like happened, but it's on CBS All Access, so I watched it. And they never really got a goodbye for Data. Like it was
because he just beamed him out, and he
beamed him out, and and like blew up, right? Exactly. Like, and then all you got was like this, Deanna, I think in that scene where they're toasting Data to lost friends or whatever. Deanna was the only one that broke down, I think, if I remember correctly.
I think you are correct. Yes.
Maybe Geordi was a little emotional, but it was kind of like stiff upper lip, like
I was speaking of Geordi. It's too bad that they didn't have Geordi on the season, given that they were besties. I feel that was a lost opportunity.
Maybe he'll come back. I mean, we both read the book, so we know that Geordi is alive.
Yes, he's around,
which is good. So maybe he'll be back. And actually, Michael Dorn and LeVar Burton both visited the set.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, pretty towards the end of the last recording, which is also why I thought that Michael Dorn, where they might have done the Enterprise coming in,
right?
Because I'd seen the pictures with Michael Dorn there, so I was like, oh, maybe Captain Worf came with the Enterprise. But I was disappointed that there was no Enterprise, but I was also like really happy to see Riker.
Speaking of though, that Starfleet fleet, that Armada was I was very taken aback by it because you've never seen a Starfleet fleet that's that homogenous, like ever,
Right. Yeah.
ever.
Yep.
In every battle, like DS9,
Yep. You're right.
First Contact, like you never see a Starfleet fleet that's basically copy and paste like that.
Yep.
So I was very like, it just looked wrong to me. That you basically had like maybe like 100+ ships that were all the same
or more.
right?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That was very weird. That was very, the
mean,
Romulans, I was like, it's fine. All the birds of prey, fine, whatever.
Yeah.
Warbirds, not birds of prey. Romulan warbirds, fine, sure. But then, like on the Starfleet side, it just didn't look right.
Yeah. I love starship porn, as it's called. I love seeing new ships and stuff like this. And like, you couldn't really make out too many of the details of the ships, unfortunately. And I really wanted to see the bridge, like get a better view of the bridge.
Yeah.
Like that stuff, I like geek out.
I mean, they
over.
probably just redressed something from like Discovery for that. Honestly.
Well, I saw, so I was kind of bummed because I know that the captain's chair was the one from Discovery.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, because Jonathan Frakes posted a picture on Twitter of him sitting in the chair in his uniform, and so I was like, oh yeah, of course. I mean, they spend millions of dollars building the original Enterprise bridge. I doubt that they're going to make the future bridge for one scene with Riker on it.
Right.
So yeah, but I agree. Like, well, also since we know from the book, like 14 years ago, all of Starfleet or the massive ships that they were building to save the Romulans was. But then, so in 14 years' time, they've now decided to build a war fleet, essentially, what it looks like.
Yeah.
But also, so have the Romulans. I mean, the Romulans have made for an empire that's no more to make almost 300 ships like that.
Yeah, they're
like,
fine. They're fine.
Yeah, like where did they come from? Like so I think that's one of the things that I'm kind of curious about. Like, how did Starfleet get up to that many of the same ships all of a sudden with no synths, right? So is it taking them 14 years to build these ships? And the same with the Romulans. Like, for an empire that's fallen, like literally destroyed and in pieces, how did this which I cannot stand her. I mean, she's a great actress, but I hate it's like the worst Romulan ever. Like, I just can't stand her because she's so evil.
She's so evil.
And that's also why I worry. Remember the scene way back, I can't remember which episode it was, but where she visited Girardi, I thought for sure she planted like hypnotized her. So I've been distrustful ever since I've seen that, because we knew that O was a double agent. Like, I've never trusted Girardi since then.
And you were right.
And I
totally suspected that too. I was, because they cut away, and I was like,
right. Yeah, exactly. But I guess that all she did was share that. Well, all we know of is she shared that that vision with
the admonition.
So I mean, but that's also, so it was. And then, so last week I saw the preview, which was, Soji going to visit Picard, and like Girardi is like looking around the corner, and I thought she was like gonna spy and like tell on Soji, and then to find out that she was playing a own double agent, I thought was like
not believable, because
it wasn't.
Girardi cannot hide her feelings.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like,
but she did. Like,
apparently.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think it's a very confusing character, because when she was first introduced in the first episode, she totally had this Tilly vibe. And other blogs and podcasts have made this call where, like, she seemed to have this like kind of silly, awkward, really intelligent, but a little bit, socially off kind of feel.
But I love Tilly. I did not love Girardi at all.
Well, when Girardi was first introduced, I was like, okay, like, she's like really smart, a little awkward. I can, okay, maybe she's gonna be a cool character. And then I don't know, like, her character was like all over the place. I think from just a characterization standpoint, you can argue that like the mind meld with like kind of messed her up. But I just, at the end of the day, I was just like, I don't know who this character is. and there was no way that she would have been able to hide from Sutra that she was lying. There's no way. There's no way that, because Sutra was like, I can tell, I will be able to tell if you're lying. And then,
Yeah, that's right.
and then Gerard was like, no, I will, I'll work with you. And then Sutra was like, sure. So I was just like, I didn't buy it that she was.
Well, yeah, I mean, I agree. I didn't buy it either, but I also thought that Sutra was, would be like, yeah, I'll take whatever help I can get from you, and then I'll kill you later, like, or get rid of you later, because I think Sutra killing her own people is, if that is so tough, or you don't kill one of your own without, so then killing someone else isn't really going to matter.
But speaking of Sutra, I don't know. It was just, and this is my overall issue with the season, where I feel they set a lot of things up, and they're basically like edging the audience, like they're edging you, right? They're you up, and then it's like, but you don't get to ejaculate. It's like, like there's so many situations where they kind of set up like, oh, like Seven becomes like the Borg Queen, and oh my God, she's gonna like, totally like stick all these Borg on the Romulans, and it's like, oh my God, so cool. And then no, all the Borg got flushed into space, even though per First Contact, Borg can probably survive in space. So why didn't Seven just beam them all back in or do something? But nope, that didn't pay off. And Seven's fine. No, no mental ramifications or psychological ramifications from being the Borg Queen for 5 minutes. It's fine. Or the Borg ship showed up at the planet. It got like, it power drained by these orchids or whatever, so it can't do anything. It's just like there's so many like setups that didn't pay off. And then there are these other setups where I feel that, and I kind of alluded to this a little bit, where I feel the writers want to make some sort of emotional impact, but then it's almost like shoehorned in. Like, for example, I could see a few examples, like Girardi kind of being so emotionally impacted by Picard's terminal illness even, but they barely have had any scenes together. They have no history together, and she's so broken up about it. I'm like, but you barely know this person, and you haven't spent any time with this person. And then Rafi, who I actually did not like as character. I know you liked Rafi.
I love Rafi. I love Rafi.
Rafi is so annoying. I cannot stand Rafi. She's a drunk. She's a bad mother. I don't know. There's so many issues with Rafi. But I don't think
she's not a drunk. She does the weed. She does the weed of.
No, but she's so drunk. She's drinking so much. Like, and I'm like, where's the synthahol? But apparently in as we're going into the 25th century, like synthahol is no longer a thing. But no, like I just first she's drunk on and off. Like it's like every other episode in the season, Rafi was drunk or high or something. Mm-hmm. But then you're supposed to, I'm personally not really a fan of multimedia needing to like read all these books or these comics to really get the emotional impact for whatever's presented to you on screen. So they expect you to do all this work, and then they present the history of these two characters to you. But if you didn't read the books or the Countdown comic, there really wasn't much presented in terms of Picard and Rafi's relationship. So even when Rafi was like, JL, I love you, and I hate JL as a thing, I could not stand that. And then Picard says, I love you back. That was very emotionally hollow to me. I was just like, I get that you guys technically worked together for how many years? Sure, in terms of they worked together for quite some time when it came to help, figure out the whole Romulan situation.
Right.
But that was basically, there's only one flashback to when Picard resigned, and you saw that they were colleagues at that time. But other than that, we were just kind of thrown into this situation where Rafi's very bitter with Picard. And it was almost bitter to the point where I thought it was unreasonable. I mean, I know it was built over time. It was built over like 15 years or something like that.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
But the I love you scene, I thought was first of all awkward because if I didn't know the background of the relationship, I would have been like, is this romantic? That it's not supposed to be. So that didn't ring for me emotionally. It was, and then another scene which I had problems with, where again they kind of shoehorn something in and expect the audience to have some sort of emotional response, is when Seven and Rafi are starting to hold hands, and I'm like, where did this come from? This wasn't even like in my mind hinted in any sort of way.
So I think we need to go back and watch in Voyager when they're playing that game, because I think so on the second viewing I paid attention to that because it bothered me the first time, same for the same reason. But I think I don't know. I have to go back and we have to find the episode where they play this game in Voyager and see if people have to hold hands when they're playing it. That was the only thing I could think of.
So I mean, Tuvok. It was Tuvok's game. Okay. Tuvok would play with Harry Kim.
Okay.
And Harry Kim was like.
My Voyager knowledge is very minimal. It's my least favorite.
Oh, okay.
Star Trek series.
Episode, so, but yeah, it was like Kauto was something that it was Tuvok introduced it.
Okay.
Season 3 or something like that, and then Seven got into it because she's bored, so she's all logical or whatever. She's like really good at it, but. I was like, I don't know. I was just like, this is weird. I mean, it's like throwing.
It's weird, yeah. I mean, not weird. I mean, all right. I mean, since we're doing a gay podcast, I mean, it's great if we have some lesbian lovers on Star Trek. That's great. We have a gay couple on Discovery, so why not a lesbian couple on Picard? But I agree. It seems like forced or not really. There's no like. How did that come about? I agree.
Yeah, I mean, the relationship between Hugh and Stamets on Discovery is definitely it's definitely there's more to it,
Yeah.
How that relationship was like built up.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Rafi and Seven, I was like, what? It was kind of almost like just like kind of thrown in at the last minute, and I was like, I don't mind this, but I just don't think it's warranted. And it wasn't. It just didn't feel. It's similar to where Rafi said "I love you" to Picard, and he said it back. I'm just I don't get it. Like I feel like there hasn't been much building up to this, where this makes sense.
Yeah.
And even same thing with Girardi and Rios. I was like, what? Like,
oh no, that was not a surprise at all. No, they remember the right before the episode where he like. Maybe it was just 2 or 3 episodes ago, but they hook up.
Are you talking about the? No,
he's playing soccer. He plays soccer. They hook up.
Yes.
And then she kind of has her breakdown or whatever. And
leading up to that, I was like,
that didn't surprise me.
I thought that was out of left field.
No, I didn't think it was out of left field. I felt like that was. I thought the Seven and Rafi thing was out of left field, but not the Rios and Girardi thing at all. No.
Interesting. I mean, there was a little bit of playfulness between them on the casino episode.
Yeah.
Where they visit Free Cloud.
Free Cloud, yeah.
There was a little bit of playfulness, and I was like, okay, they're being playful. Is this flirting? And then the next episode, she has her breakdown, or maybe 2 episodes after she has her breakdown.
Yeah. Right.
And then they hook up. I'm like, okay. But then the problem is by the end of this episode, where they basically have that montage of, all the crew members kind of like, quote unquote, crew members kind of, being on the ship and then reconciling. And then Rios and Girardi kind of like, they have a quick kiss. I'm like, so is it okay that Girardi killed Maddox, and did we forget about that?
Oh yeah, right.
Wasn't she supposed to like go to Starbase 12, Deep Space 12 or something?
Yeah. And
go to prison? Have we forgotten about that?
That's a good point.
That forgiven?
Yeah.
Because even like Rios was kind of like taken aback by that, like that she killed Maddox. So there wasn't like this emotional blowback that I feel, it's like, oh, let's just kiss and make up, and like there wasn't that emotional blowback that should happen, you know?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. What did you think about the final scene? I mean, I thought it was kind of like very end of the movie type, where like all of the Star Trek movies, basically, like
Yeah.
everyone walks onto the bridge and they're like engaged and like on their way,
But
like
I'm like, where are they going? I'm like,
right. We don't know, right? It's
Are-
a whole new beginning.
but it's just,
With Picard as a synth now, technically.
which we need to talk about because that's another thing.
Well,
So
I think that's gonna be a theme of so if redemption is the theme of this episode of this season, I
uh
think that identity is gonna be the or possibly a theme for next season because
so
of
you think he might struggle with am I because if I
real.
was
Am I real or
real,
not? Yeah.
am I still Picard?
Yeah. Oh, but
Am I
going back, you
still
know what?
am I
Yeah.
still JL?
Am I still JL? Which, all right. So on the JL thing, I think that that's a nice differentiator between this is not next generation. This is like, and I don't know. It's a little more familial. It's a little cheeky. It's a little like, but he kind of puts up with it because it's Rafi. And I mean, I think it's a cool
So she gets a free
differentiator.
pass. She gets a free pass.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, she gets a free pass because he abandoned her for 14 years, and she gave
But
up.
according to Countdown, she was already calling him JL.
Oh
Like
yeah.
when
No,
they
yeah,
were
that was her
filming
early
together.
days. Yeah. Which I
Yeah.
thought was I like it. I mean, I think it's it takes it in a different direction.
When you say it like that, yes, yes.
We're not.
But
You know, this isn't Jean Luc. This is
but
JL.
JL, I feel is harder to say than Jean Luc. Like Jean Luc just kind of rolls off the tongue. JL is almost like just 2 letters. I don't know.
Oh well, speaking of which, we could call you JL, right?
I would not
Oh.
want that. I would. But speaking to your point, I will give the writers, I'll give them credit for what they were able to pull off successfully this season in terms of some of the overall narrative arc. Do I think that they'll be able to successfully explore Jean-Luc's identity as a synth next season? I don't know. Maybe, maybe. Um, if they do, I think that would be good because that was one of the big outstanding questions I had from this episode and that whole body swap thing with the golem, where I was like, so is this still Jean-Luc Picard? I mean, sure, he has his memories and everything, but is this the same person?
Right.
That we've been following for 30 years? Is that correct? 30, yeah, about 30 years. Like
Yeah, 33
premiered
years.
in like what,
Yeah.
86 or something? 87? I don't know.
1987, September
Yeah.
1987, I believe.
So is this still the same character?
Right.
I think that'll be an interesting question to ask. Do I trust that they will actually think about digging into that? I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, that's a good. I mean, yeah. So far, they haven't really released anything. I mean, even Patrick Stewart doesn't even know. I guess they alluded on the Ready Room that they each know one tiny detail or potential detail about where Picard and Girardi are going to go next season, but I think they're still writing, and Michael Chabon is, I think, writing the first 2 episodes because he's not the showrunner for the next season. Yeah, so he's writing the first 2 episodes, and then I think he's going to go work on his own projects.
Right.
So I think we'll kind of have a sum up of that, or like a continuation. Like he'll get the ball started in that direction. Hopefully, but well, I mean, obviously, we're probably a year away from finding out if life returns to somewhat of a new normal, whatever that may be. But going back to one of the things, like I really like the Data scene, like him saying goodbye, Picard being able to say goodbye, a proper goodbye to Data, and Data also being able to say goodbye to himself, like.
Right.
As he like the speech, obviously it was Shakespearean. I don't know what. I think it was from The Tempest, maybe. But as as Picard pulls out the memory engrams, you know, the first one, Data makes his bed and kind of lies down on it, and then the second one, he suddenly gets older, and then there's this figure there suddenly that you don't see who it is. And then at the third, and then he's starting to age, and at the third one, he like closes his eyes and shuts down, and you can see that it's Picard in his Next Generation uniform with him, and then it all dissolves. And I thought that was really like, that was kind of this. I think for Brent Spiner as an actor, I think that is a much better death than dying on some Romulan ship. 20 years ago, or 17 years ago, or whatever it was. So I think it's a much better, and it also gives Picard the goodbye as well, which I thought was really quite a nice, kind of a nice wrap up for everything, because in a lot of ways Picard has lived with this death for 20 years, and then thrown himself into another line of work trying to save the Romulans, and then that ends suddenly, and then I mean, it's but I think it was really, that actually emotionally tugged at me, and it actually was even more so the second time, because I think in between the first viewing and the second viewing, I listened to the Star Trek podcast, and Patrick Stewart said that it was really hard for him to do that scene. It took a bunch of takes because he kept on choking on the words. So I paid really close attention to his like facial expressions, and like you like paid a little bit more attention, and it was kind of, but I also really liked, I don't know, there's this one part where Data says makes a small but statistically relevant difference that you love me.
Yes.
And
I like that.
Picard's reaction was so youthful. Like, this is it, like, and I think this is what we're going to see too, is this new life that Picard has, not only because he has a new body, but just because he's been able to resolve so many things. I mean, there's still obviously the whole Romulan situation, which is unresolved. And I'm not talking about and that whole fleet. I'm just talking about like when he goes to the planet and gets Elnor. You know, there's obviously a lot of resentment from the Romulans against him. So I think that there's still probably some guilt and some feelings around that maybe they'll explore next season. But
so yeah, I do like how they dealt with that Data scene. The whole quantum simulation thing I thought was a little weird. I still don't totally understand. I know that they got Data's memories from B4, and then somehow Bruce Maddox got like one neuron from Data or something. That's a little, that part is a little bit like, even when they were kind of explaining how Soji and Dodge came about, and they used like one neuron. When Gerard explained that, I was like, all right, whatever.
Well, there's one. So that you just made me think of something else that's kind of unresolved. So obviously Sutra and whatever her twin's name was, the twin was killed on the Ibn Majid by.
I can't believe you remember the name of the ship that Rio served on.
Yeah, Ibn Majid, who's his captain, kind of killed them. So Sutra's sister was killed. And then this other synth, her brother. I guess they're all brothers and sisters, is what I'm intuiting from that.
Yes.
But so then, you know, Sutra looks so different from Dot. Like, are they like? You can tell that there's a bunch of different versions of these synths that like either are adapting, but there's never an explanation on how did Dodge and Soji get made, because they look human. They look completely different than any of the other. Maybe a few of them look similar, but you know, Sutra looks very much like Data, a female not a completely, but like her gold skin and everything is kind of like
her gold spray tan.
Exactly. But it never really explains how they eventually got to Daj and Sutra.
No, I mean,
Daj and Soji.
They didn't explore how what's his name, Anton Sun,
Yeah, whatever his name is.
whatever, and Bruce Maddox, how they start
Creating
the background wasn't really explored much.
Yeah.
I think that would be interesting to delve into, but I don't think they are going to for next season. I think they're going to move on to something else.
Yeah. Maybe there'll be a book about it or something.
Oh yeah, maybe a book tie-in.
Yeah.
But no, I thought that was interesting too, but they didn't really get into like how all these like synths were made and like the development of them and such.
Yeah. And actually going back to Saj and Daj and Soji, I actually really like Daj. And
I love Daj too, and then she was killed off and like
and then we got like her angry twin sister, which I was kind of but I mean, I guess it makes sense. I mean, it makes sense from a story point of view to have someone who's kind of not trusting of Picard to begin with, and has to like learn to trust Picard, whereas Daj immediately was told to find Picard and trust him. So I think that's interesting. I don't understand how that programming got to Daj but didn't get to Soji. It's interesting.
Well, I think it was only because Daj was activated and Soji wasn't, and Soji never got to that point until much later.
Oh, really? Well, wasn't Soji activated when she was in that chamber and the Romulans were trying to kill her?
Yeah, and then she jumped out and then saw Picard, and then I don't think she really, because Daj was activated and then she had, I guess, visions of Picard, right? That was episode 1. And she like saw that broadcast of Picard on the Federation News Network, and heard more.
Yeah.
So then that eventually led her to see Picard as a Chateau. Okay. But I don't think Soji just was activated and then she saw Picard. So maybe.
Maybe it was different. Yeah, and also their mother, whoever that was, whatever program that was.
Yeah, the AI was telling Daj to trust Picard.
Trust Picard, right, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I felt that, I really enjoyed the second episode. Better than the first one, I think. Better than the part 1 of it. I think that.
I thought part 1 was a lot of setup. It was like.
Yeah, it was a lot of setup,
slow.
Yeah, it was kind of slow, yeah.
Which I feel the season as a whole, there were slow parts. I know that other people have said this. I do think that there were some parts that were probably a little bit slower. I mean, I still think that it was overall fine. I don't think I have as many issues with the pacing of the overall season as I've heard from other reviewers or other podcasters. But I do think that this also has to do with how the showrunners really wanted to differentiate Picard from Discovery, where they wanted it to be much more deliberate.
Yeah.
Whereas Discovery is like so fast, plot-wise.
Yeah.
They wanted Picard to have not like a necessarily leisurely pace, but it's much more. It's much slower in comparison. I feel that they kind of probably. Could have trimmed like I think an episode or 2 and made it tighter, but I do think there are a few moments where I was like, okay, this can be like a little bit faster, just a little bit more.
We didn't really talk about the only real death of this last episode. What's her name?
The Romulan.
What's
oh my gosh, what's her name? Narek's sister.
Sister. And what happened to Narek? So we don't really know what happened to Narek, and we don't really.
He ghosted.
He did ghost, yeah. He did ghost, but then his sister got kicked down this long trench, and it's.
And I feel that she could have totally just beamed out because she's been beaming out of situations like that all season.
Yeah. Well, and the real question was, I really thought. I guess I'll have to go back and watch. I think it was.
I thought she was with the fleet. I thought that she was like.
I thought they beamed her off from the cube.
Well, they totally did that. So in that episode where she was being attacked by the XBs,
right,
she beams out, and then the next shot is of a Romulan ship going to work with all.
Oh, right.
So they made you. It's almost like they wanted you to think that she was on a ship, but then gotcha, she was on the Borg cube the whole time.
Yeah.
All right, sure.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not like people keep on saying like she did an awesome job acting, which I'll give her that. But you know what? I I don't know. I just didn't really like her all that much. I mean, Narek,
But then there was
she's
a
kind
whole
of
like,
like condescending older sister, like.
but then there was a whole like incest thing, and
I
also
don't think
like
they were incestuous.
it was like the way that they were acting around each other, and then she would like choke him or something when she was like kind of mad at him. Remember
Oh
that one
yeah,
scene? She
yeah. It was
choking
kind
him, and I was
of.
like, this is weird. I was like, is this something? Is there more to this relationship than just brother or sister? You know, it was a little odd. I think
It was
a little odd. I
awkward.
didn't mind Narek at the end. Narek was kind of annoying towards the beginning. And
Yes.
a little bit one-dimensional, but towards
Yep.
the end, I was like, all right, fine. But what's his sister's name? Oh my god, I can't believe I
Yeah.
don't remember it.
Anyway.
But anyway, was it like Narissa or something?
Oh yes, it was Narissa.
Narissa.
Yeah, Narissa.
Yeah, I was just like, yeah, she was just like, I don't know. But maybe she was also, maybe the argument's also she's like a little messed up because of ammunition, so she's like a little bit like,
yeah. She's definitely, yeah. I mean,
So,
she obviously survived the admonition, so or seeing the admonition, but yeah, I think I'm hoping that her death is permanent.
I don't want her to come back.
I don't want her to come
I'm
back
good.
either. Yeah,
I'm good.
I'm done with her. Although I feel like Narek will probably come back at some point. It seems like
it's possible.
Without really knowing what happened to him, because obviously they didn't beam him aboard a Federation ship and take him away. So yeah, that was definitely something that was kind of left on either on the cutting room floor or was never really thought about after the two synths nailed him to the ground and held him there.
So I know that we've been jumping around and we're also been talking about the full season, but
you have notes.
Well, do you have? Okay, so
go ahead.
Wrap up the finale.
Yes. All right. Let's wrap up the finale.
Talk more about like the rest of the season.
Yeah.
We already did. How would you, if you had to grade the finale out of like a 10, what would your score be?
I would give it at least a 9, if not a 9.5. I don't think
it's so high. Okay.
Yeah, I definitely no. I think they ended on a high note. I think I think that there are a few plot holes. I'm glad that they didn't kill off any of the main characters. Even Girardi, although I would not have been sad about losing Girardi, but I'm glad they didn't kill Seven off. I think that's I like that. I like this version of Seven a lot. Obviously Rafi was never really any mortal danger. Rios wasn't, so you kind of knew that they were kind of coming along. I'm glad Elnor is back. Hopefully they'll give him a little more character development next season.
I know, having nothing to do.
But I felt like it was, it gave you a lot of emotional feels. It gave a little bit of fan service, not in the way maybe that we wanted it to. Like we would have loved for the Enterprise and Captain Worf to come flying in. Although, again, the real problem, we talked about this back a few episodes, was when Jonathan Frakes was once again in the intro credits. Yeah. So you knew he was coming back, and I was kind of like, I would have preferred you didn't do that, because you did that before, and it kind of sort of ruined the surprise a little bit. Right.
Yeah.
So I think maybe switching. I think that they should switch those special guest stars to the first credit at the end of the episode.
Yeah. I think
not
most
in
shows
the main.
Do.
Yeah.
Most shows don't put it till the end.
Yeah, so stop teasing us, stop ruining the surprise. Obviously, you guard the secrets of this show really well, and then you put it in the front credits. Like,
yeah,
like it carried all the way through. But yeah, I really felt like there was some really, I actually really enjoyed the ride. I did not think that I did not have any preconceived notions. My hope was that the Enterprise would come, but again, I listened to a podcast in beforehand, and it said like, and this whoever it was said, I kind of want it, but I kind of don't, and I don't want to get my hopes up and then have my expectations dashed. So I didn't go into it with any expectations. And since Frakes was in the intro, I was like, there's not going to be an Enterprise because he's not going to take over the Enterprise.
Right.
But I felt like it was, it was a little slow in the beginning. I was shocked at Girardi. I was kind of like, oh, she kind of redeemed herself. So I was kind of like impressed with that aspect of it. I thought that them allowing Picard and everyone, and the writers obviously, letting the synths choose their fate and choose what they want to do. I think that was really it was great to see that philosophy, and then that's what I really love about Star Trek is it's a sci-fi adventure, but it's also got messages in there, and obviously Picard's message has several, both his life and what he speaks to is like a lot of messages. I mean, I think it's great that I'm excited for, I felt like it was I'm excited for the next season. I'm excited, but I'm also like, if they didn't do a next season, you kind of like, well, they ended on a note where they did, if something happens and they can't come back for a second season or whatever, like we have a complete story.
For sure. I agree.
So I think that's a good thing. So I really felt like 9.5 out of 10, the 0.5 being like leaving, like, where's Narek, what happened to Narek,
like some of the loose plot threads, like what happened to another question is like, what about the XBs? They're just on the planet.
So all right, so that was another question I had, like, and I didn't really put it together until watching it the second time, but I'm like, this, like, how did XBs survive? I thought that they got rid of all the XBs on the ship back in Romulan space. That was a kind of a loose plot.
But apparently there are survivors, but they're all just being left on the planet. And
right, they're being Severn's leaving them, and they're all just gonna live there with the synths, which I guess could be an interesting, like, symbiotic. But
they could have thrown one line and been like, oh, they're gonna take care of each other or something.
Yep, you're right. Yeah. So that's my score, and I'll definitely say 9.5. What is your score?
That is really high. Okay.
I mean, I've watched it twice. I will go back. I will, like, if I want to see a great episode. I mean, there are definitely a few in this season, but if I want to see a great episode, I'm probably gonna turn to this one, or probably the Free Cloud episode is another standalone.
Which one? Sorry.
The Free Cloud one. The Free Cloud episode, the casino show or whatever.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be another one where it was kind of more of a fun piece to it. But definitely, I will come back to watch. Just like I'll go back and watch the series finale which was a lot more action packed, obviously, of Discovery. So
season 1 or season 2?
Season 2, the last episode where the big battle
with Control. Okay.
Yeah, and all this Enterprise porn that I just love.
Okay.
So
so rating just the final episode. I would give it an 8.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
So not.
What are you deducting points for?
Well, along the lines of what I was saying earlier, I think that I think the emotional beats hit you more than it hit me. Maybe I'll feel different upon a second viewing, but I do think that, again, there are a few moments like between Picard and Soji, or between Picard and Data, that had a good emotional payoff, and a payoff to Picard's narrative as a whole. But there were all these other things that I just, to what I was saying earlier in regard to some of the moments between, like, Picard and Rafi, or with Girardi and Rios, or like these small things that kind of, for me, added up, where I was just like, I am not getting the emotional impact that I think the writers want from me. So for me, it was it was more of an 8. It was good. It was good. It was not great. If I had to really pinpoint an episode of this season, which for me really resonated and I would go back and watch, was Nepenthe, which was the episode.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, that was a good one. You're right.
And it wasn't just, and the thing about that episode, and I know we're going to talk about the season as a whole. The thing about that episode is that it, all the emotional beats really hit, and it wasn't just nostalgia porn. It wasn't just fan service. It was legitimately like these characters have so much history. The way in which they interacted, which was definitely much more relaxed than how they interacted during the Next Generation and things like that, made sense because these people have gone through so much over 20, 30 years. And that in their interactions and, even them calling Picard out for some of his failings made so much more sense than, Rafi giving Picard shit. So even though that wasn't, say, an action-packed episode, I just thought that it was done so well. I thought the acting in that particular episode, particularly because like Jonathan Frakes and Maria Sirtis are very seasoned actors. Like they're just great people. They're just great actors, like
Agreed.
On screen, on the stage, and such. Where they're with Patrick Stewart, like I thought that there was a really lot of chemistry, that really just made sense. Versus these other scenes with these other. Almost some of these are randos. Like I know Eleanor is supposed to, you guys are saying like he's basically Picard was a father figure to him, but he's also had like 6 lines the whole season, like he hasn't really said anything. So those emotional moments just don't resonate. So anyway, not to say the finale was bad, I would say it was good, not great. So
okay. All right, fair enough. Great. There's our episode 10 recap.
Well, thanks for listening, everyone. We hope that you enjoyed our discussion about the Picard season finale. If you have any questions, comments, things you want to have us read about, you can reach us by various means. You can reach us through email by emailing deepspacepride@gmail.com. You can also check us out on Instagram and Twitter, where our handles there are Deep Space Pride. That's really it for this week's episode. Bye.
Bye for now.
Deep Space Pride is a production of Coconut Media Works. Executive producers Bill Smith and Dan Davidson. For more great Star Trek discussion, discover the other shows of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network at trekgeeks.com or find us in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app.
Coconut.